The Bronco is about to undergo a major transformation, and the first step is a bumper and winch. In this video, we'll go over the installation, my initial impressions, and driving impressions of the Warn Elite bumper with the Warn VR Evo 10S winch.
So May is a big month of modification for the Bronco, and I'm super excited. I get comments all the time saying, why do you go out without a winch? Why don't you have a winch yet? Are you ever nervous going out without a winch? Like, why? So today, the very first modification that we're gonna do is get a winch on this thing. We're also gonna put a Warn Elite bumper on it. That was one of my hesitations with getting a winch, is I didn't like the way they were mounted for the most part. They would just hang way up and out on the Bronco, and I didn't like that at all. The Elite bumper is like kind of half inset, so it's half in the bumper, and then the controller and stuff is on top. So it's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more tucked away, and I like that a lot. So got a lot of work to do today. So first things first, let's get this stock bumper off.
The installation of the Warn Elite bumper will depend on what bumper you have from the factory. I have the modular bumper, but after this is removed, the installation is pretty much the same regardless of the original bumper. So for me, the first step was to remove the fog lights. Next step is to remove the skid plate, which is held in by 4 15mm bolts. Around each of the toe points, there are 4 clips that have to be removed before you can pop the plastic off that surrounds them. There are 6 15mm bolts holding the bumper onto the Bronco, 3 around each toe point. Be careful as you remove these because that's the only thing holding the bumper onto the Bronco, so brace it somehow. If you have the parking sensors in your front bumper, you will disconnect it on the driver's side of the vehicle, tucked up into the wheel well.
Okay, so with the bumper off, it's time to start taking everything off of this that's gonna go on to the Warn bumper. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some masking tape and mark all the parking sensors. So I'm gonna mark them from left to right, so passenger side to driver side. That way when I put it back in, I'll know where everything should be. And I shouldn't have any issues with that once it's all plugged back up and stuff like that. So we'll mark it, we'll rip that harness out, and then we'll start putting it on the new bumper.
In order to remove the harness for the parking sensors, there's a couple plates that need to be removed first. The first will be held in by 4 15mm bolts. You're gonna have a plate on both sides of the Bronco. And underneath that, you're going to have another plate that's a little bit longer and tucks the harness into the bumper. There are 4 T40 torque screws holding those onto the bumper. So both of these plates need to be removed before you can remove the wiring harness.
Very excited about this. This is gonna be really cool. So before we get this on the Bronco, there's a couple things we got to do. We got to put the parking sensors back in. They recommend installing the fair lead now, because you can drop the winch in when the bumper's on the vehicle, but it's really tight. So they say do the fair lead now. So yeah, install the sensors, install the fair lead. There's some brackets that we need to put on the Bronco, and then we can put this on.
To install the wiring harness, there's a tab that needs to be installed into the front bumper. This tab is held in by, I believe it's a 4mm Allen screw and then an 8mm bolt on the back of it that holds it in place. I chose not to worry too much about where the wiring harness was going to be routed exactly. I wasn't sure what space I would have once the winch was put in and stuff like that. So I wanted to get it mounted on the vehicle and kind of test fit the winch to see where I should route it exactly. And then I'll clean up the wiring harness later.
So this Bronco is equipped with adaptive cruise control. This will not work with this bumper. So I've ordered a relocation kit, but it's not here yet. It should sit right here in the grill, and it should work perfectly normal once I get that relocated. But for now, I just took it off the Bronco, and I'll put that in later.
Also, apologies for this psychopath.
The German Shepherd mixed with Border Collie, and he's an absolute psychopath. So there's these little plastic clips that go on the back side of this frame mount right here. Sure, you're supposed to take this plate out because you have new mounting hardware, but I was just kind of unsure. So this does have to come out, and then we can put the new plates in place, which will sit right like that.
Before you install these two plates, make sure you install the carriage bolt on the bottom of the two brackets.
You're gonna take one of these bolts, one of the long bolts that they provide in the kit. You run it straight through the middle of these brackets. Pop out the other side like that. And then you have a nylon locking nut that goes on top of that. And then these guys to pinch the bottom of the mount together. All right, hopefully this will work because I'm a one-man show.
So the idea here was to place the bumper on a piece of wood that was put on a jack and lift it into place. You can kind of see as you look at this now that the jack was backing up as I was trying to maneuver it. So this didn't work.
That hurt.
What I found was that it's easy to lift it into place and let the bumper rest on the frame rail. You definitely have to brace it. You can't just let it go because it will fall off. And then reach through the fog light pocket to install the carriage bolts on the outer brackets of the bumper. If you already have the fog lights installed, you'll want to do the inner brackets first by reusing the 15mm bolt that we took off the OEM bumper.
The front bumper is on and it's looking pretty sweet. I'm really liking the look of it. But But it's time to get the winch in here. So I'm going to tidy up kind of the parking sensors that are in here, get them out of the way, and then we'll throw the winch in here and bolt it down. Once the winch is in, you have 4 bolts with a washer and then a locking washer on it. So there's little spaces in the bottom of the bumper for you to feed these up. The 4 bolts are here, here, and then just behind those. You can't see those. They're 16mm bolts. Torque them down to 30 to 35 foot-pounds.
With the winch and bumper installed, it's time to start wrapping this up. If you're reusing the OEM skid plate like I am here, you will need to cut a portion of it so it fits around some of the new hardware holding the bumper up. So I test fit it. The flaps that I'll need to cut are directly in line with the 2 forward-most bolts holding the skid plate up. So I just cut about a 2-inch tab off both sides of the skid plate.
All right, internet, I have a winch now, so you're gonna have to find something else to complain about. So overall, super painless install. It was actually really easy to lift it into place and place one of those carriage bolts myself. I tried the jack thing, but it just didn't work out. So it was really easy to just lift it and put it into place. Not that I would recommend doing that. You should definitely have someone help you if you can, but I was able to do it without. So there's a couple things I have left to do to clean this up, which I'll do off camera. I was hoping to reuse my Diode Dynamics lights in the fog pockets, but they're not gonna fit in there. So I have to get a different set of fog lights. I'm leaning Baja Designs because I'm a huge fan. I have to relocate the adaptive cruise control to that plate up here like we had talked about earlier. Very, very happy with this bumper and winch combo. This is not gonna stay on for long. I have an ultra hook on the way, so that's gonna replace that. Really, really pumped about this. Okay, so let's talk about how this bumper and winch combo affects the driving characteristics of the Bronco. Because it's a lot of weight we're putting up there. It's 180 pounds total, I believe. So you would expect there to be a difference in how it drives, and there definitely is. It's not as noticeable as I thought it was going to be, but there's definitely extra weight that's transferred side to side. You can feel that front end is just a little heavier now when you're going through corners. Another thing that it affects is brake dive. So it's not dramatic, but the front end sinks a little bit more under braking. I haven't had to brake heavily at all, but like moderately, and it definitely dips a lot under, moderate to heavy braking. I do have a lift kit that I'm going to be putting on the Bronco that is tuned to handle some extra weight. So all of that stuff should be handled by the new suspension that I'm putting on there. But for the longest time, I didn't do this because I didn't have suspension. I thought it was going to be way too heavy and just screw up how the Bronco handled. But it just isn't the case. Like, I should have done this a long time ago, because apparently the front springs are okay with the extra weight. The back springs aren't. Any weight in the back and this thing just sags like crazy. But it makes sense, there's an engine up there, so it's got to handle more weight anyways. I'm so far off now. So overall, I think it handles pretty much the same. Maybe a little bit more lean in the corners, a little bit of brake dive, but it doesn't feel unsafe. It doesn't feel like I've lost control of the vehicle or anything like that. So the Bronco handles the extra weight well.
There's no extra noise with it. It's not doing anything weird with like the wind that's passing over it or through it. I haven't had any issues with overheating so far. We've had some hotter days, but I also haven't driven it hard. I haven't wheeled with this thing yet. So I haven't experienced any overheating issues, but I also haven't put it through like all of its paces. The only real problem I'm having with the bumper is the parking sensors. One specifically, like, so if you're looking, it's on the driver's side, but it's like the inside driver parking sensor. For whatever reason, I'm not able to get that to seat fully. And it'll just randomly kind of ping and go off even if there's nothing around. So I've been really trying to figure out what's going on there and trying to correct that, but I just can't seem to. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's not fitting into the mount correctly. I don't know if maybe I broke something in the install. It feels stable, like it feels like it's in there, but I don't know, something's a little off. But that's the only real issue I've had with the bumper. I will say, if you choose to do this, the instructions that came with my bumper were outdated. They have been revised. So I think what happened is mine was sitting in a warehouse for a while with old instructions and then shipped it out and didn't think much of it. So there was a step that I skipped that I needed to go back and do. But the instructions on the website are updated and they are accurate. So double check that before doing the install yourself. So all in all, I'm extremely happy with this bumper and winch combination. I cannot wait. I feel like this opens up a whole world of possibilities. If this was helpful, definitely give it a like. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm happy to answer them. So now that this is done, my lift arrived today. So in the next couple days, I'll be putting that lift on, and then we get some big old 37s on this thing. So I'm very excited. Lots in the works for the Bronco. But until next time, I hope you're able to get off the grid and off the grind. I'll see you in the next one.